Hey, it's Tia Carrere, and you're listening to Kino Kingdom with Britt
and Lazlo
and Rupert. Party on, guys.
Hello all, and thank you for listening. And we are here at Kino Kingdom. This is episode 115. I got to say, when I log into Google to like sort of set this all up to record, it amuses me because it says choose your profile. Do you want to choose the Britt Roberts profile or the Kino Kingdom profile? And obviously all my web pages and stuff are saved. And I feel like I'm kind of like taking a gun out of a holster when I click on Kino Kingdom. I think, yeah, that's right. It's time to talk about Equalizer 2000. Not a far-flung sequel to the Denzel Washington films, let me tell you. And I'm joined by
pistol out. Play a bit of verbal Russian roulette.
I'm joined by Rupert, who just spoke then, and Lazlo, who never speaks. So, yeah, we should have a fourth member that just never says anything. What do you think, George? Oh, if you hear the creaking of a noose there, that means he enjoyed it. So yeah, we've all been busy boys this week, but I do want to open with a James Bond story actually, because one of my colleagues in work went to a place in London called Duke's Bar, which I understand is where Ian Fleming used to drink, and he ordered a Vesper martini, and these martini, I don't drink martinis, so I don't know what goes in them, but apparently there's 10 shots worth of alcohol in each one.
Jesus.
And they're £27.50 each. And he's had like a dry January, and this was the first thing. And he was in there, and he's a Bond fan. He was enjoying the ambience up in London, and he had two of these cocktails back to back. And he said, I went outside, and the air hit me. It's mid-afternoon. He said, I was battered, absolutely like what? In the middle of like an unfamiliar city. Oh, I can feel a Nora Jones song coming on. So it just that just really amused me. But I thought, well, you did drink like effectively 20 shots in probably under an hour with two cocktails. So that's gonna affect your bloodstream at some level, isn't it?
Yeah. Do you think that's why James Bond can take such a kicking? It's because he's just battered the whole time.
It did make me wonder if Bond started his day with that, and if his phone went off and it was like brr, brr, and it was Bond, we need you to get to Russia. Someone's stealing a nuclear warhead, and he's I don't know what time is it? And he's just completely spanned like dealing with it. But that is basically Die Hard trilogy 3, isn't it? Because he's just dealing with a creasing hangover throughout the whole film.
That was their inspiration. Well, Lazlo, you've read the Ian Fleming books. Is he an actual functioning alcoholic in them?
I just remember him eating like a lot of toast and stuff like that. It's like it really goes on about like what he consumes. It makes it kind of cool, even though like some of it is quite dated food. Like he'll be eating quail's eggs or something. Drinking wise, yeah, he probably is. Yeah, I have had a Vesper martini as well, and it's something like, I'm trying to remember. It's like 3 parts vodka, 1 part. Like
gin? Is it gin?
My
brother made me
1 part gin, 1 part vermouth with a bit of lemon peel in, and you just drink it. It's just drinking petrol.
Yeah, you're drinking like multiple like premium like spirits basically. So it's just a clatterer. But what I enjoy about films and sort of books, it's not when they talk about they sort of sexy up the drinking and smoking. It's when people are dealing with hangovers that amuses me. When they're a bit wobbly and they're like, well, he wasn't tip top as he had a piss this morning, and they look down and it was not clear. And, you want the kind of nitty gritty of it, the Bond. There's probably like a load of offcuts where like Bond is just spewing and like someone's holding his hair back, and they thought, we don't need that in Casino Royale. I think it's just slowing down the plot. Yeah,
I doubt Ian Fleming went into detail about James Bond's sepia piss.
Bloody good band though, weren't they? Punk band from the 70s in East London.
Yeah, he was too busy being racist.
Yeah.
Are they racist?
Ooh. Some of the
How about Live and
times.
Let Die?
Oh, wow. Okay. I didn't realise. I mean, I guess when were they written? I mean, the films start in the 60s. Were they written in like the 40s and 50s then, the novels?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's very dated. But even at the time, I think probably a bit racist, if not quite a bit racist.
Oh, right. I was going to say, well, for the time, it's going to be racist effectively if it's in that time period. But the fact that you were like, even for the time, it was
it was a bit risque.
Yeah, he opened the door and the waiter walked in and he was a black, and it just hurt like pages of abuse. Okay, this is when does he start smoking fags and drinking, having hangovers? That's what I'm really in this spy novel for. So we'll talk about smoking in films later on, actually. So yes, Lowell, the preamble's done now. That was all done by AI, by the way, so I hope it was interesting. We have no idea what it said, and we never listen back to the edits before we upload. But how are we going to do this? Are we going to? Who's going to start off?
You've got 40 films, haven't you?
I have. And I can get two of them out of the way pretty quickly. I'm going to save the other ones for later on when I've had a few more sips of wine to really warm me up. But pardon me, this is I'm drinking a Puglio, by the way, tonight. A nice little Primitivo. I'm assuming you've got a little bit of magic there as well, Laz, have you?
Yeah, I've got 2 double vodka and Cokes sat in front of me.
Wow.
Not Vespa Martinis then.
No, right.
No, not tonight.
Oh, not tonight, babe.
I want to live.
I thought you were just about to start singing "Heart of Gold" actually by Neil Young. Then, I'm going to do 2 at once here. I watched Ladybug and Cat Noir, the movie Miraculous. I don't know if either of you are familiar with the Miraculous TV show. I've been watching it with my son for 2 years.
No.
It is so. The full title is Miraculous Ladybug and Cat Noir, the movie, and it's about this. These two sort of, it's set in France, which is quite nice, in central Paris, which is a nice little change from the usual stuff. And it's these two, well, Ladybug and Cat Noir are the sort of superhero names of Adrian and I've forgotten the name now, Marinette, who are sort of superheroes by night kind of thing. And each episode, I was more familiar with the show than the movie, and it's quite episodic. And each one, there's the bad guy takes the most negative aspects of one person from the city and accentuates it. So if there's like an ice cream man who he loves his ice cream bringing people together, but he can't find love himself, he'll get turned into like a giant evil ice cream snowman thing that chases out people who are in love kind of thing. And it's quite nice. It's very formulaic, but it's quite nicely animated, and it's they sort of like middle-aged teenagers, and it's all about she loves him when he's not in his cat form, but finds him irritating when he is, and it's all sort of harmless fun. And I watched the movie, and I thought, even now, I cannot remember what the movie was actually about, but it's a really good primer for the show if you've got kids who are into the show. And I think I prefer the episodes more than the movie because it does feel like that. Like the episodes are more interesting because at least you've got a 20-minute of, who's going to be the bad guy this time? What's, is it going to be like a good swimmer who turns into like an evil mermaid? And it's just quite fun. And there's a couple of video game spin-offs, one of which is one of the worst games I've ever played. Oh my God. It's not for this podcast, but it's like the 2-player tethering, the camera angle, the combat, the bosses, everything about it is an absolute nightmare. It feels like a budget PS2 game made by Prism Leisure. So it's avoid that. I think there's a sequel called Riddle of the Sphinx or something, but the first one, my God. And so that's good fun. And the other thing I wanted to say really quickly before I hand the baton to someone else is, and I know Rupert's covered this on the podcast before, I watched Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs 2.
Good.
I watched the first one a few years ago. I think I'm leaning towards agreeing with Rupert. I believe you thought the sequel was better.
I don't know. They're both brilliant. Decide.
It could be that I watched this 2 years on, so my son is now 4, and he is much more switched on with movies. So it could be that I enjoyed this more because he did, and he was asking more questions and getting more of the jokes. The way that the main bad guy moves in these films is so amusing.
It's so brilliant.
It's this weird...
That's the thing that might elevate it above the first one, because the bad guy.
Yeah, he's so nasty. And it's so, he just kind of, he's this like really weird, snaky, hyper animated glide. He's like, there's never a part of his body that's not moving. And I like how, with the enemies in this as well, not the enemies, the sort of monsters, how there's a bit of a bait and switch at the end, and the design of them. It's just, it's all quite, again, kind of like the Miraculous thing. You see a burger spider, and or like a taco dial, and it's just fun. It's just a good, fun kids film that's genuinely funny. And it's weird that I didn't realize Bill Hader did the voice of it. And it's the only time, because Bill Hader's voice, his speaking voice, is incredibly irritating. Like a nasal, like someone doing a sleeping bag up slowly. It's this nasal drone, but it just sounds like, I actually thought it was another actor. I'll have to have a listen to some clips and correct myself state who I thought it was next time, because it slipped my mind. But also the fact that James Caan is in it is cool. I guess this would have been one of his final roles. So, yeah, 2 kids' films that I quite enjoyed this week.
Apparently they're doing a third one as well.
I'll watch that. I'll openly watch that.
Script, I know that quite recently. It's called Planet of the Grapes, obviously.
Good. They're doing a sequel as well to K-pop Demon Hunters, and I'm 2029. My son will be like 46 when it comes out. I'll still watch it. Have
you seen it? The K-pop Demon Hunters?
Yes, many, many times, Lazlo, yeah.
We haven't... we covered it?
Yeah, we did cover it one time.
Okay. Yeah. But yeah, I'm happy to talk about it again. It's on
the edge of my radar. I keep intending to watch it, and then I see the images of it again on Netflix and decide I can't quite do it.
Again, right? It's a pretty formulaic story, but it's got that anime. It really gently blends anime tropes with a sort of Western ideal with Korean folklore in a way that is interesting and also surprisingly accessible to kids. Mm-hmm. But the soundtrack is phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. And watching that, it just makes Frozen just look like a shard of piss jammed into a homeless man's face. It's like the production, everything on these songs, and even how the lyrics kind of play into what's actually happening in the story, so much more interesting and clever and poetic than fucking that Disney shit that I've been sitting through. And I thought, yeah, but of course it takes so long to do these things that by the time the sequel comes out, I'll be well in my grave, but I'll still watch it from the beyond.
Okay, I'll have to do it. Yeah. I watched the entire season of Last Samurai Standing just to avoid pressing play on K-pop Demon Hunters. So
we are not the target audience, but if you if you go into it, and like I said, the lyrics and stuff is they actually are. It's not just explaining what's happening; it's actually written as a song, like an actual song that works in its own merit, as opposed to just basically just saying what's on screen with a backing track.
Right.
When you said Edge of my radar, Lazlo, reminded me I watched Edge of Tomorrow recently, so
good.
I need to talk about that again.
Maybe next episode.
What a film that is. That's the jib. That's the one with the jib, isn't it? The best face. The best
that's
face.
What you take away.
I was overwhelmed with emotion when that face was pulled.
Yeah.
And I've got a mirror above my bed, so I've seen some faces, mate. I've had sex with Ronnie Wood. I haven't.
No. Okay.
It's just foreplay.
He looks like Nora Batty's feet now, by the way, Ronnie Wood. I don't know what's going on there.
How old is he?
He must be about 170, is he?
Yeah.
Stone?
Yeah. Shall we move on from Ronnie Wood's? I don't know. Anyway.
Wood's ancient face.
Yeah.
I'll talk about a film called The Ballad of Wallace Island, which is on Now TV. And this is a film I really like. It's a British film. It's about a guy named Charles who wins the lottery twice and buys a house on a remote island with like one shop and an occasional boat. And basically he's obsessed with this old folk duo, this fictional folk duo called Maguire and Mortimer. And these two are lovers, and they broke up and then went solo. And basically he invites Maguire to the island for a private gig for a huge sum of money. But he doesn't mention that he's also invited Mortimer. the girl, along with her new husband, to be part of the gig. So neither Maguire nor Mortimer realise the reunion is happening, and it creates this very mild-mannered and amusing kerfuffle. It's sort of a British version of like an indie mumblecore comedy, I guess. And a lot of the comedy in the film rests on Tim Key. So how funny you find it probably depends on your opinion of him, I suppose. I know him from Alan Partridge, and I think he's got impeccable comic timing. This is definitely sort of awkwardness comedy. So I suppose gauge it by that. But it's also quite nicely plotted, and the kind of various motivations of the characters revealing themselves through these clumsy exchanges and arguments. It all feels quite uncomfortably real, but the emotional payoffs are well earned, and it never strays into sentimentality. And it actually even raises some pretty interesting questions about like the nature of artistic authenticity and selling out, commercialization, the artist overcoming the ego, and the separation of the artist and the art. So it's quite smart. And it's got an indie mentality to it, but I like how it's taken these sort of modern, cool people out of their environment to this remote island. So like the lack of technology and the twee shit they do is out of necessity rather than them just being insufferable bohemian wankers. The Maguire and Mortimer, this sort of like middle-aged ex-couple with a lot of baggage, are played by Tom Basden and Carrie Mulligan, and they just got really good chemistry, so that works really well. But yeah, kind of at the heart of it is Tim Key, this main character. He's sort of his wife died a few years ago, and he's clearly overwhelmed by the emotion of having his heroes in his home, and he's kind of a klutz, and he doesn't know when to shut up, but he has this sort of dorky dad joke sweetness about him, and his complete lack of pretentiousness is what ultimately takes down Maguire's towering ego. And it gradually becomes clear that like Charles's motivation comes from this deep longing for his dead wife, who he clearly associates with Maguire and Mortimer as a duo, and getting them back together is his way of kind of coping with his grief. And but also like getting them back together is triggering something in Maguire as well. He's basically clinging to the past. So there's this whole subtext about nostalgia as well. Yeah, and I found it really funny and engaging and smart and really well acted. So I enjoyed that a lot. It's on Now TV.
I've just looked up that Tim Key guy. I know I recognise him from Alan Partridge. So he always plays like kind of the same role on Alan Partridge. Is he branching out here, or is it more of the same kind of thing?
Particularly, it's very much in his wheelhouse. But I suppose the difference here is that it's like that kind of like he's got this earnestness, and he gets to have sort of emotional moments. It's more like, obviously in Alan Partridge, he's kind of like just a kind of a punching bag for Alan Partridge, really, to kind of take him down, and that's funny in itself. But in this, there's this kind of sadness behind his constant twittering and inability just to shut up, and all of his like shit dad jokes are just kind of a cover for his deep unresolved grief. So it's a good performance. It's a good film. Possibly not exactly, our usual cup of tea, but I think it's worth a watch.
What's this? Because the musicians in it is a sort of central focus. What's the soundtrack like?
Well, it's sort of like quite duetty folk stuff. I mean, it's fine, and they're good at it, and they sing live and stuff. But
nice.
It's pleasant, good acoustic folk, really.
I got
it's
two
something my
questions.
dad will like.
Oh, go on.
Yeah. I was wondering if there's something my dad will enjoy as a folk musician.
I would imagine so. I mean, they did like. It's not really my scene, but it seemed as good as any folk music I've heard of that type.
Oh, it's got to be better than Johnny Flynn and the Sussexwood third album. Did your dad, has he got anything on Spotify I can listen to?
No.
Oh, right.
He
just plays in the house kind of
stuff
thing.
on YouTube. Yeah, but
Oh, you should send me a link. That'd be quite nice to listen to.
Yeah, I'll send it to you.
Yeah, we should give him a shout out.
Yeah,
Then
I'm bang up
he'll
for
have
that.
two views on this video instead of just me. It'd be nice.
With instead of me just hammering the refresh button, not understanding how the internet works, just obviously sometimes in this podcast I tend to be sort of the voice of the listener with sort of the layman's approach, Rupert. I just want to clear something up. When you said that he lives on an island and there's an occasional boat, is that like a boat that comes and goes every few days, or a boat that he uses just for like Christmas and weddings and stuff like that?
That is an occasional boat that goes sometimes at 5 p.m. in the afternoon.
I'm with you. And also, the other question, which I often ask when you do these reviews, you can probably guess what it's going to be, is did you cry? Because this is what makes and breaks it for me when I come across them and I think, hang on.
No, because there's no like real high. The stakes are too kind of low. It's much more kind of subdued than that. But there's a kind of a moment where, because obviously it's all about this, he's basically got these like pretty successful musicians to his island with all this money, and it's revealed pretty early on that there's going to be no one else in the audience except him. So, and inevitably it will end up having some kind of a performance with one or both of them. So to kind of see him finally get his dream is quite a sweet moment, but I wouldn't say it's like a tearjerker or anything.
I've just been notified that James Van Der Beek has died.
Yep. Bowel cancer.
Wow. That is
48.
awful.
Father of 6.
Wow.
Oh, wow. That's tragic. That's what got my grandfather, bless him, as well.
Yeah.
That's terrible news.
Well, he didn't. I don't think he even revealed they had a problem until a year or so, something ago.
Yeah, I thought he was like had it treated and was on the mend, but obviously not.
Bless him.
That's pretty sad.
He was good in
Rules of Attraction.
Rules of Attraction. I was going to say yes.
Yeah,
That's the only film I think I've probably seen.
It wasn't really my thing. Yeah, I can't think of other films I've seen him in, to be honest.
I've got a feeling I've seen him in like a straight-to-video thriller, but I can't remember anything about it. It's a tough one because he's more of a TV actor, isn't he? Bless him. So I don't. I'm not overly familiar with him.
I'm more than happy to watch Rules of Attraction.
I think you should watch all of Dawson's Creek in honour of him.
I'll watch the OC as well if I got time. I mean, I'll have spare time after that. Lazlo, would you like to talk about where you've been pointing your eyes at?
After these wholesome quality films we've been talking about, I'm going to talk about The Rip, which is the new Joe Carnahan Netflix action film with Matt Damon and Ben Affleck in.
I've been looking at this for my because on my YouTube algorithm it's been coming up with like them doing like sort of buddy interviews, and they're quite fun, and I thought I should watch that, phase up for it. So let's be nice now.
I can't promise this. So Ben Affleck and Matt Damon, they're starring as dodgy LA cops in the sort of David Ayer film vein, where all the cops are kind of bearded and tattooed and kind of wear sort of rocker clothes and don't look anything like you would think a police officer would actually look like. Dealing with sort of corruption in LA. So the main thrust of this story is that their police captain has been murdered by masked gunmen and sent a message to someone about a stash house, which has now fed back to her team. And so the team, led by Matt Damon and Ben Affleck, then go to this stash house under the pretenses of securing some drugs. There's a place where the cartel stash drugs and things. But when they get there, instead of drugs, they find $30 million worth of cash. And it soon turns into a siege scenario where seemingly cartel people are coming to get their money, and they are deciding whether or not to try and steal it or stab each other in the back, and maybe somebody in the house had something to do with the captain being killed in the first place. So a solid setup, if not wholly original. And the first half of it is good. I mean, it sort of builds the tension quite nicely, and it did have me wondering who was dodgy and what was going on. But almost as soon as it turns into a siege scenario, it all starts to fall to bits. And characters start doing really illogical things. Like, so they kind of get these phone calls from the cartel saying, you've got half an hour to get out of there. You've got 10 minutes to get out of there. And then when they let the time run up, the place is riddled with bullets. Like hundreds of people with machine guns shoot the fuck out of it, and they're diving all over the floor. And you're like, good, good, good. But then the gunfire stops, and then they stand up and then they walk outside as if they know that no one's going to shoot them to bits. And you're like, but there were loads of people there with machine guns. Where have they all now gone? And why are they not worried anymore? It's just to serve the story, things happen like that. And there's a bit where they all congregate and have a massive argument in the house, and no one's keeping guard anymore. You know, literally, they all sort of just come in because they want to have a plot scene. But you're like, well, there's people could be coming back to get them. You know, you're just like, it sort of ignores its own logic. And there's a bit which would be effective in more competent hands, where they realise that all the houses in this cul-de-sac are empty as well. And maybe the whole street is kind of a kill box or whatever. But they drove into this and they parked their 4 outlandish vehicles, because even though they're cops, they've got like, you know, neon lights under them, and one of them drives a huge pickup and one of them drives a sports car and so on. And they park them right in the middle of the cul-de-sac and don't notice there's not a single vehicle on this street or a single other person in sight, and no houses have any lights on. And they stand out guard the house and don't notice this. And it's just like stuff that could have been fixed in the script, but they just didn't. They just thrashed it out. And these things started piling up to the point where I was just starting to get annoyed and a bit bored. So yeah, it kind of falls down. There is stuff to be amused by in this. I mean, in the styling, Ben Affleck has got a jet black beard, which is considerably darker than the light brown hair he has on top of his head. It's like he's dyed his beard. So that made me smile every time I saw it. And right next to Matt Damon, who's just got a normal grey head of hair, he looks particularly stupid. And then there's stuff like they get all the women cops to count the money. And so instead of, you know, you'd think under a siege that every gun counts, but no, the women get relegated to cash counting, which they won't leave the house until they've counted it, because they could be accused of stealing it or something. I don't know. The plot just kind of falls down. And then also, I'm just remembering, sorry, then when the twists start happening, which I didn't guess every twist in this, to be fair, but then when the twist is revealed, then they have these really laboured flashbacks explaining how that twist got to that point. You're like, no, I got it. The moment you said it, I understood that, okay, he's a bad egg. And it makes sense because they've been acting funny. But then they show you him acting funny and what he did behind the house. And
so
and
it's an attack on your intelligence as well as being slightly tedious.
Yeah. It's not half as clever as it thinks it is.
The thing is... Oh, go on, sorry.
I was just going to say, when it gets to the end then as well, it also seems to think that we've had a really lovely time with these characters, because there's these extended farewell scenes of people shaking hands and hugging and looking at sunsets together and patting each other on the back and saying what a good job they've done. And I was thinking, have you done a good job?
Well, that's a spoiler. Now we know everyone ends with their hands if they pat each other on the back. That's a spoiler.
Yeah.
Well,
no
they
one got
don't
their
all
back ripped off.
make it out of this necessarily. I'm not spoiling everything, but it's not very good.
Scott Adkins and Carl Chandler in this, whom Rupert and I both fancy, so that is disappointing.
Yeah. Oh, also, and what's his face? Not Carl Chandler, the other one.
Scott Adkins.
Scott Adkins, sorry. He is in a non-action role in this as well. Cleverly,
Really?
he plays Ben Affleck's brother because they kind of look similar. But yeah, he's just a talkie role, which I was surprised by. Yeah.
Because he knows nothing about martial arts.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, they wanted to be able to pick him up on the microphone.
He's moderately competent at acting in this, which was also a surprise. So, yeah.
Has Casey Affleck been in a Christopher Nolan film? I think was he in?
Yes, he was in the space one, Interstellar.
Yeah. Oh my god, the sound on that must have been amazing.
I was just looking at Joe Carnahan's career. Obviously, there's been a lot of the A-Team, The Grey, Stretch, Bad Boys for Life, Cop Shop. I've realised that Smoking Aces I enjoyed. The Grey, I believe Rupert enjoyed.
Yeah.
And then Cop Shop, I kind of enjoyed, but I watched another film that was low budget at the same time. It was the same premise of like a small police station being taken over in sort of like the suburbs, and it was better. He is all over the shop with his quality.
Is that the one with Frank Grillo in it?
I think he might be having an affair with Frank Grillo because as Lazlo was talking then, he is in a lot of his films. Yeah. But yeah, I watched Cop Shop and I didn't mind it, but there was another film at the same time that was a lower budget that was just far better.
Right.
Is that Cop Shop? That's the one with? That's not the one with Kevin Bacon in it?
No, that's Cop Car.
Oh, Cop Car. Sorry,
that's 2015. That's a fantastic film. Yeah.
Yeah, I enjoyed that one.
Okay, I won't watch that then. That's two. That's two films with you put me off The Accountant 2 and now this as well.
Yeah, sorry. I mean, Ben Affleck and Matt Damon do have good chemistry. On the plus side, they have a kind of very believable shorthand buddy thing. So they should do more things together, just not less. Oh, incidentally, I was going to say they have done some interviews after this came out, almost oddly apologizing for aspects of this film, even though it's had actually good reviews on the whole.
Really?
Where they were talking about Netflix ordained that they have to force writers to add reminders of the plot for those who are watching whilst on their phones.
Oh, really?
Which might explain the flashback stuff is like, because they can't bank on people having paid attention properly. And so they like to stick in reminders of what's happened.
This is becoming a real problem because I was looking at, it was someone, obviously like doing the game shows and stuff I do, there was someone saying, I live in a shared house, and this is a person I know who's in their 30s, and I thought don't often do it, but we got all the guys in the house together to watch a film, and it was just this. It was a ridiculous post that I read where he said he put the film on, and someone was like on their phone, someone was like off cooking and on their phone and like looking over at the screen, and then he just turned the film off after 20 minutes, and it took almost half an hour for people to like say, "Oh, what happened to the film?" And I thought, Jesus Christ! Like I know I'm maybe I'm a bit old school at the age of 42, but surely if like you put something when you look at it, it just seems like it's such a bizarre way to ingest any kind of entertainment. Like when I'm playing a video game or listening to an album, I'm not doing anything else. It's or if you're listening to an album, maybe you're on your phone or whatever because you're just using your ears. But something that's both audio and visual, it just. Yeah, it seems like it's a real problem.
Yeah. The fact that it would actually be changing the nature of narrative storytelling to cater for people's attention spans is...
And they have to also, I think the other thing was they had to have an action scene right up front. Otherwise, people will just scroll on if they're not immediately slapped in the face.
That's bothered me for some time.
Yeah,
if Andrei Tarkovsky was out now, these people would struggle.
Yeah, but that is, in fairness, that goes back a long way, that mentality. It comes from reading scripts, that if your script doesn't grab the person in a Hollywood system, if it doesn't grab them in the first 5 pages, then they'll just chuck it aside. So you got to start with a bang.
It's depressing, isn't it? Our life is constantly depressing and getting more so. I remember, just a little aside, I remember being a little boy, a beautiful little blonde-haired boy, and like hearing my grandparents talk racistly and I remember thinking, oh, well, at least this will die with them, and when I'm older, it'll just be nice. And no, it's worse if anything. And just the thought, every time I hear about the people who can't even like sit down and watch a film, you think, really, what are you scrolling towards on your phone? What's there? What are you expecting to find? Yeah, so that is depressing. But what isn't depressing is, please tell me one of you has seen this, Screamers, starring Peter Weller from 1995, written by Dan O'Bannon.
I can't remember.
I never have.
Oh my god, I'm going to give you two such a fucking treat tonight. This is a film that our mutual friend Chris showed me years ago, and I'd never seen it. He was like, have you ever seen Screamers? And I said, no, because I was talking about how much I enjoyed Peter Weller. The last Peter Weller film I watched was Top of the World, which is good fun. And he's one of those people that you see him in RoboCop, and then he's kind of in other films. But unlike Michael Wincott, where you try to find another film, and he's always a character actor. He's never like the main star. He's always just a bit of a scene stealer. Screamers is just Peter Weller, 1995, boom, off he goes. And apparently, this is a low-budget sci-fi film, right, from the mid-90s. And apparently, later on, when people say to him, how do you feel about being a Screamers? He's like, it's a fucking brilliant film. He's like unapologetic about it. I thought, good. Not like, I did it for the money. No, it's good. And he's right, because it starts off with a text scroll, as all the best films do, just laying out, like, there's some uridium or whatever is on this planet, and Earth is knackered, and these two mining corporations go to this planet, get into this like seemingly endless war to get this sort of ore, whatever it is, that's radioactive. And it gets to a point where they create these things called Screamers, which are these sort of saw blades that hunt people that live underground. So if you like walk along and you hear like this scream, it just comes towards you. It looks like a mole, and it jumps up, and it's just a load of like ragged metal that tears your face off. So eventually, when we get thrown into the story, it's Peter Weller is one of the sort of high ups in one of the mining companies, and the other mining company, which is miles away, is they haven't heard from them or been attacked by them, and they send across this one bloke, and he gets killed on the way by a screamer. And they find out that these screamers are like weirdly like evolved on their own. They're different now, and they're trying to work out what's going on. And it's almost like this really depressing sort of road trip on Mars, where they've just got to get from one refinery to another, like through and just seeing what they sort of come across, and dealing with it as they do, and just trying to get to the bottom of what's going on. This film has people smoking fags in it, guys. They are smoking rollies. They don't give a hoot. And there's a bit where they're underground, and whenever there's like a radiation storm, this sort of loudspeaker comes on and says, light up your reds. And they put their normal fags away that they're constantly smoking and pull out these like fags with like red Rizzlers and smoke those. And that apparently like cancels out the radiation. Wow. It's amazing. It's just people smoking fags for 2 hours. Imagine being in a dust storm and someone saying, quick, smoke some fags. Like, I've never wanted to smoke fags less. I'm in the middle of a radioactive sandstorm. Plus, I've got a storm lighter. It's time to get your zipper out. But it's just got this like, it's not cheesy. It's done like quite seriously, and it's just this really like bone lean story about like, this is what's happening, this is what the sort of risks are, and it's just constantly engrossing, because you're either watching Peter Weller be amazing and smoke loads of fags, or they're trying to deal with like whatever these sort of screamers have evolved into, or questioning who they can trust. And it's so lean and so tight. And a lot of the model work is fine. There's some of the CG is a little bit saucy because it's 1995, but it's absolutely fine. Budget 40 million, box office 5.7 million, and it's nearly 2 hours. And I swear to God, I would have said it was 85 minutes.
Like a real movie.
It's a real movie. I absolutely loved it. And I know, I've done it for the last 10 years. I will watch this every 5 years quite happily. Faye is not a sci-fi fan, and she watched this and she was loving it. She said that was brilliant. Absolutely fine.
Where is it?
Lazlo, we all ask questions, don't we? We ask lots of questions, and sometimes answers can be nebulous, as this one is going to be. I can't remember. Did someone do a Just Watch? Yeah, somewhere. I don't think it was on DVD.
I need to see it because I can't fully remember if I have seen this before or not.
I know I tried to watch it, but accidentally ended up watching Trances with Tim Thomason instead.
It's absolutely fine.
Where his character's called Jack Death, obviously.
Is someone just
I
watching this? Oh, cool! Cheers.
I'm just doing it. No. Screamers
is not available unless you rent it.
Oh, there we go. I must have rented it because I didn't. I haven't got it on DVD, but I'd quite happily have a German Blu-ray of it. Let me tell you.
You can get the Blu-ray from Zavvi for 20 quid if you want.
It's worth it. I will look into. I need to. Peter Weller is such a. I've not seen him in a bad film. It's just, and I love how like blunt he is and how unrepentant he is about his choices. Like, it's a good film. Good. So many people like are so apologetic about these sort of low budget things. No, good. So yeah, it's a classic.
I'm going to be watching that. Well, I'll put it on my watch list anyway. Kind of connected to Peter Weller.
Good. RoboCop 3 with Robert John Burke.
He's not in. Starship Troopers. I watched this on Disney Plus.
Nice.
For the first time in many years.
Yeah.
And the plot is... But this actually came out of a conversation. My inspiration to watch this came out of a conversation I was having with one of the apprentices at work. He's obviously really young. And they'd never seen like RoboCop. So I was like going on about how amazing RoboCop was. And I got a bit carried away and was talking about like different layers of satire in it and how amazing Paul Verhoeven was as like this kind of like European immigrant who's kind of like, well, I guess he was kind of making quite a lot of schlock over in Europe and then came across and was just had money hurled at him by Hollywood for some reason. Anyway, so Starship Troopers is set in the 23rd century. Mankind is under attack by an alien species called arachnids who are threatening Earth, and a group of college kids sign up to join the United Citizen Federation. And then they head to the bugs' home planet to wipe them out at the source. And it's a really very violent, mega-budget sci-fi action movie. Not really en vogue today, but it holds up. A couple of things that might not be so obvious today. The film really flopped at the box office. And on top of that, apparently it was genuinely seen by some critics as pro-fascist, which I find a bit bizarre. I mean, like, for a start, have you not seen, like, any Paul Verhoeven films? But also, have you seen this film, which is clearly satirical? It's written by the same guy as RoboCop, Edward Neumeier. I never really got the satire as a teen watching it, I think, but it does seem more relevant than ever now. The idea of these hopeful, idealistic kids signing up and becoming ideologues through the dehumanizing process of war. And there is genuinely something quite sinister about the way it comes full circle, and these three college buddies end up arm in arm, and one has become like a grizzled lieutenant, one has just shrugged off the violent death of her boyfriend, and one has literally become an SS officer. So that's nice. And the action's really solid. Sorry, yeah, lovely. But that's the thing, that's the genius of Verhoeven. It's really presented as an absolutely happy ending, and it's like, no, this is very, very dark indeed. But yeah, the action, very solid action. But Verhoeven's always been a good action director, and it's always inventive and always clear what's happening to whom. And the visual effects hold up amazingly well. This movie, I've always been impressed by the CG on the bugs, but they actually hold up really quite well.
They're bringing out a video game called Starship Troopers Bug War, which is apparently a single-player experience, which is good. I know there were sequels, like straight TV sequels of this, but I remember, and I can't remember which way round it is, because this is like Casper Van Dien, isn't it, and Neil Patrick Harris and stuff. And I remember there's a scene where Neil Patrick Harris at the end comes sailing in like a full SS uniform, and he's a totally different person.
Literally, just an actual SS uniform.
It just doesn't give a shit.
Hugo Boss.
Is it in this film where at the start they use those sort of machine guns, and they're either really strong at the start and really weak at the end, or vice versa, where they're either churning through them or they're just having to fire like hundreds of rounds to take one
very
down.
variable. But basically at the start, pretty much at the start, it takes multiple people with these guns constantly shooting at one of them to take it down. And even then it's twitching. By the end, they're just spraying around the place and it's taking them all out. It's ridiculous. So not so much consistency there. It has some really classic...
They've learned how to shoot them precisely in their brain stems.
That's what it is. That must be what it is, yeah.
It's just got Rebecca Gayheart in it and Michael Ironside as well. And Clancy Brown.
Clancy Brown's in it.
Yeah, it's a hell of a cast now that I think back. I haven't seen it for like 15 years, but it's
so good. It holds up
it's
really
such good fun.
And there's some real classic like Verhoeven grisly deaths. Like there's a bit where one character gets this like brain sucked out, and it's absolutely gross. It's like
isn't it got like this a straw like sucking sound effect?
Yeah. It's like so gross. It's up there with the eye popping sequence from Total Recall.
This is 10 years after RoboCop. So Paul Verhoeven did he constantly release gold, or was there a point where he took it down?
He produced
downhill after this.
This was the last great Hollywood film he made, I think. I mean, after that he made Hollow Man, which wasn't very good.
He also did Basic Instinct and
of course he did.
Showgirls.
Let's
not forget.
Oh, okay,
He's made a handful of well-regarded art films since. I've only seen one, which is Black Book, which is decent, and a bit pervy, which is unsurprising. I'm glad he's kind of found his groove. I mean, he's never going to be given a production of this scale again, which is a pity, but at least we kind of have like almost like a trilogy of satirical action movies, I suppose, like RoboCop, Total Recall, and this, I guess.
Yeah, that's a hell of a triple bill.
Yeah.
Even if that was your entire filmography, like that, fair play. You know, you've made tens of millions of people happy.
Absolutely. And they're still good.
Right then, Lazlo, you're going to talk about whatever shit you watched?
I'm going to talk about a good film, also from a bygone era. Sci-fi as well. This is all a bit of a theme here. So I'm going to talk about Outland. Have you watched Outland with Sean Connery?
I have watched Outland with Sean Connery, and I love it.
I spent 25 English pounds buying this on the new limited edition 4K doodah that came out for this.
Very nice.
And it's worth every penny.
Well, this is
inexplicably bad.
This is Peter Hyams, who crops up on our podcast quite a lot from his. This is good. I'm looking forward to this.
I'm slightly breaking my own rules here by talking about one that I've seen before, but because I spent £25 on it, I'm going to fucking talk about it. So basically High Noon in space with Sean Connery as a kind of a new marshal on a remote mining station which is on the moon of Io. And miners in this community, whilst he's trying to find his feet here, and he's got a reluctant wife and child that he's brought with him who just want to get the hell out of there, the miners start inexplicably killing themselves by like pulling the oxygen out of their suits in space and exploding and things. And it's all chalked up as accidents. Miners like to party hard, and then sometimes accidents happen. But he notices a pattern and starts asking questions, and the corporation don't appreciate this and basically warn him that he should drop the case, which he does, and they live happily ever after. No, that doesn't happen. He refuses to drop the case. His wife and child leave him, and then he sort of spirals whilst trying to solve this thing, and he gets into various scrapes. And it winds up in a High Noon-y sort of scenario where they corporations send guys to bump him off, and he has to kind of home alone it around the space station on his own to survive. Good. And what I really love about this film is that it feels like a spiritual spin-off to Alien, the original one.
Yes.
So it's made only a couple of years later, and it's got the same sort of tech and the sets and the use of miniatures, same tone. It's even got the same composer doing the score. It's got kind of grizzled blue collar space workers and shady Uber corporations. So it feels really of a piece with Alien. If you just remove aliens, you can imagine this is set in the same universe, which is really cool. That said, watching it again, there are flaws that become apparent. Quite early on, you realize that Ridley Scott is in a slight league of his own, really, compared to, God bless him, Peter Hyams, who's a little bit of a journeyman director. There's a bit where one of these space miners is going mad and he's screaming in his spacesuit that spiders are crawling in his eyes and stuff. And his colleague is just going, "Keep it down, will you, pal? Hey, I'm trying to work here." And then he explodes and he's still kind of going, "Oh, come on." And you're like going, okay, Ridley Scott would have probably taken a look at this scene and thought, yes, maybe you should be quite perturbed by your colleague killing himself by exploding his own head rather than telling him to shut up. And it also, I mean, narratively, it's a good mystery build-up, but then at about 40 minutes in, there's a bit of an exposition dump, and it pretty much gives up all the goods there. And the last sort of, 40-odd minutes is just a straight thriller with him preparing for people to have a go at him, and then them turning up and him having to deal with it. I
remember it being like a real sense of like everything is against him, including his like sort of his own family in a way, because like they bugger off.
They aren't going to stand by him as he probably gets himself killed in this scenario. And there's some fun little bits, like they do video calls throughout it, and Nick reminded me that that obviously was quite a fanciful idea for 1981. You just don't think about it now. Zoom calls exist, but yeah. So it's got some nice forward-thinking ideas. There's some fun stuff like the prisoners are kept in 0G prison cells, so they're just kind of floating around, stuck in zero gravity. Just nice little ideas. But yeah, so I don't know. I feel like I wish there was a darker ending, because there's like, it's a perfectly serviceable action in it, and there's a really cool chase in the middle of it where they obviously they built all these enormous elaborate sets, so they're like, right, well, now we're just gonna have a chase scene where they chase each other through every single set that we built, and it goes on a bit longer than it needs to, but it's really cool because it's just so full of detail and it's really nicely shot. I just wish that, I feel like there was a darker ending of this that they could have done, a more morally complicated ending, because it boils down to just stoic good guy versus corporate bad guys at the end. But he's got a doctor friend in it who I feel like in some version of the script probably turned out to betray him or something, that would have been interesting, that he can't even trust this sort of one person who seems to be having his
Francis
back.
Sternhagen?
Yeah. Or his family could have been revealed to actually they haven't escaped on the shuttle and they've been held hostage or something, that just could have made it a little more morally complex. But yeah, it goes for old-fashioned. It's clearly wearing its Western sort of genre inspirations, and it keeps it simple. But it looks amazing. Some of the models are really, really cool still now. They don't all 100% hold up, but it does look cool. And it sounds really nice. And Sean Connery is great, even though he does have a moment where he tells a woman he's going to kick her nasty ass all over the room, which sounded like something that Sean Connery might say to a woman.
Probably added that.
Yeah.
Stephen Burkoff is in it as well, isn't he?
Yes. Playing a psycho. Who'd have thought?
Weird, that, isn't it? He's terrifying.
Yeah. So if you haven't seen it, definitely worth a watch. Especially if you can get this nice new shiny version. It looks very nice.
Is it available?
I was going to say, is it streaming anywhere? Because this does sound cool.
You
I always
can
get
rent it, yeah, on Prime, but it's not the new remaster. But it'll still be fine. It'll be like the Blu-ray rip, probably.
Excellent.
Can I talk about another film?
Please do.
I watched a film. I won't tell you what it's called or who's in it, but I put this film on, and about 15 minutes in, I thought, oh, I haven't put this on my Letterboxd account, so I know, what I've watched for the podcast. And I said to Faye, who is Welsh and from the Rhondda Valleys, I said, oh, what's this called? And she said, oh, Pause. And I said, right, oh, that makes sense in the context. Pause. I can't find it. And she said, it's called Pause. And I said, I can't see it on Letterboxd. That's really weird. And she looked at my phone and said, oh, sorry, Pose. And I was like, yeah, that's where we're going wrong. So I watched Pose, which has also got an alternate title, like Turn Up the Sun with an exclamation mark, which is probably one of the worst titles I've ever heard. Wow. And this is my boy.
Is this new? This is on Prime. Okay, I've seen this.
Yeah, James McAvoy thriller. And I like James McAvoy. But this is I'm gonna leap in with the problems here. Actually, I'll explain the premise and then I'll explain why it's a problem. So the premise is that it's a young couple who are also, one of them is a Irish pop singer, and her partner is her photographer, but a sort of videographer, but also her boyfriend. And they rent out this house, this sort of idyllic rural mansion. It's all very bucolic, and they think they've hired it to do this photo shoot to get the cover of a new album. But it turns out that James McAvoy and basically a couple of women that he's banging effectively are still there. But James McAvoy is this this sort of really revered photographer who is the boyfriend's sort of idol. So it's just all them sort of staying together for a few days and drinking and talking. And he's hinting that he's going to make this huge comeback, and he says, "No, you know, with me here, you're going to have your perfect album cover." The problem, gentlemen, is that this is an improvisational thriller, much as the film I watched a few years ago called, I don't know if you remember this, called My Son, where it was his son gets kidnapped by like a pedophile ring, and he's trying to track him down, but it's like the bones of a story, and every interaction is improvised and made up on the spot. So what you're left with in that film, it was I don't think it's by the same director, Jamie Adams, who was like, it says he's a Welsh director, but then it says, oh, he's born in Weymouth, and I'm like, oh, okay, not Wales then. But that film had more of a structure to it, and it worked because it kind of ramped up the tension. With this, even though it still had like nonsensical scenes, this feels like a lot of wankers in a house drinking and talking shit, and it never moves beyond that. I will say the final scene is cool, like when they come to like the snap that kind of gets the album cover. It's like, oh, that's quite cool. But for a film that is like ambling bollocks for 77 minutes, and it feels like 2.5 hours, it feels like twice the length of Screamers. Wow. It just, and I was watching it and I didn't enjoy the film at all, apart from the final sequence. And I was chatting to Faye, and we had more fun discussing why they would have made this film than watching the film itself. And I was on my phone. I was one of those. I didn't need to be looking at the screen for this, because if they're not going to write a script, why should I bother looking at the screen? Quite frankly, but I realized that James McAvoy does a lot of theatre work, and I wonder if this is a way of him moving away from all the sort of big budget stuff and getting back into what is exciting for him as an actor. And maybe if I was an actor, I would find it very clever and exciting. But when there's such a rambling plot and it's just a load of people in a house bouncing off each other, if you're not in that particular industry, you're just thinking this could only be improved by having a plot. There's nothing here that like, so some of the lighting is really bad. And and the way it's edited is a nightmare, because obviously Jamie Adams, the director, he could not have been happy with the footage he got, because you're watching scenes back with different like dream sequences with different voiceovers over them and different things layered. And it does this thing where the final sequence kind of has this one snippet of footage you weren't privy to before. And it's almost as if you can imagine when he put that at the end, he was really smug and thought, oh, that wraps everything up nicely. And it's like, no, this is like a William S. Burroughs sort of cut up naked lunch thing where there's just a load of ideas that just do not come together. And it's not fun to watch, but it's fun to watch and discuss. So it's a niche audience, but I would, and I feel like after two of these, I'm done with that genre. I just don't. I think if I was in the industry and if I was an actor, or maybe if I was a lighting director, and it's like, you're moving with the punches sort of thing, maybe then there would be another edge to like, oh, this is kind of a learning curve. But as a layman moviegoer, it's not interesting at all. And also,
intensely irritating.
When you watch it, James McAvoy, because of who he's surrounded by, and because they have characters they have to kind of stick to, either looks like he's acting everyone off the screen, or he's just in a completely different film and massively overacting. So there's you're never kind of settled on what's happening. It's almost like they're either not on his level, or he's just taking the piss. So it's just an uncomfortable film to watch, basically.
I think I'll give this one a miss.
I also feel like I watch certain films like this that I really feel like you two should be covering, because this is my depth. Someone who watches like sort of shitty horrors. But yeah, that was my take on it anyway.
I think your opinion of it sounds valid. I suspect I'd agree with you.
Yeah, there's too much other stuff to watch. Yeah.
Yes, this is a problem, a genuine problem with them. I like it now when Faye and I invariably like say, I'll open the bottle of wine, you choose a film, and then whatever she chooses, I will go with. And it's almost like everything is such a punt now with the sheer amount of content you have that it's always going to be worth talking about. But yeah, I'm with you, Lazlo. There's just generally too much. The scrolling thing is a nightmare now.
Mm-hmm.
And so,
at least your other half elects to watch quality films. Mine will say like, let's watch Heated Rivalry or something like that, which is just
what's that?
It's ice hockey guys getting it on with each other. It's a big thing at the moment, but I don't really know where to watch. Where to look when it's on. If you want to just watch porn, just watch porn. Like, why do we have to use up our valuable evening TV time?
With me, like semi-tumescent, it is a running joke in our household that like whenever Faye chooses a film, there's always some. It's always like deeply sexual, and like she doesn't plan it, and I'm like, oh, one of your films, is it? Oh, I see. But yeah, it's always just It'll always be like, oh, a young woman moves to Paris and tries to find her feet in a different culture, and it'll start off with two women licking each other out, and you think, oh, okay, I see what's going on. All right, okay.
See, that's the equivalent of having like a big action scene at the start, isn't it? Grabs the attention.
Netflix dictates. Yeah,
I'll tell you
finger bang scene.
Let me just tell you that my attention is not what I grabbed in that scene. Let me tell you, it was my cock.
Right, yeah, I've got it.
And my balls and my feet. I fell over, basically. So yes, Rupert, it's time for you to shine, my sweet.
Have I talked about young Sherlock Holmes?
No. This is being like redone as a TV series, isn't it? A Guy Ritchie young Sherlock Holmes series. So
Guy Ritchie young Sherlock. Oh,
you're ahead of the curve.
Jeez. Okay. Don't think it's going to be much like this. Young Sherlock Holmes on Prime. This is a 1985 take on Sherlock, directed by Barry Levinson and written by Chris Columbus.
Okay.
And the period setting is it's like a young Sherlock at a posh boarding school where he meets Watson, and Sherlock's a bit of a smart ass, but also somewhat compromised by his emotions. So the character arc really in this movie is about him learning to repress his feelings to become this deduction machine that we know. It's kind of well conceived and well written movie. It starts off with Sherlock showing off his various skills in a bunch of schoolboy challenges, basically. Then he gets obsessed with investigating a bunch of deaths which look like suicide, kind of like Outland. but he believes they're murders. So basically, it's a bunch of underground Osiris, is that how you pronounce it? Worshippers are using hallucinogenic darts to make important people go loopy and kill themselves. This is an Amblin production, so there is some tweeness, but it's juxtaposed against some genuinely disturbing like hallucination sequences, I've got to say. There's actually elements of Temple of Doom, I think, in the way they discover the worshippers' sacrificial ritual. It's probably better than Temple of Doom, to be fair. And those sequences use quite a cool remix version of the Carmina Burana. So that's kind of cool. But the sacrifice itself is effectively a woman mummified alive and then being waterboarded with boiling water. So that's full on. There's a scene in which a woman hallucinates being buried alive and zombies clawing at her skin. And one of the main bad guys is dispatched by her, chokes on a blow dart and then gets set on fire. And it's like really harsh. And it's like, in some ways, it's a horror movie for kids, really. And a reminder that in the 80s, they did not mess about when it came to horror movies, whether it was for kids or whatever. So Nicholas Rowe is the guy who plays Sherlock, and he's been consistently working ever since, but I feel he should have been a bit of a bigger star. Freddie Jones is in this, and he's fantastic, just as he was in Krull, obviously. And it's got a really good score, which I genuinely thought for a long time was John Williams, but it's actually some other guy called Bruce Brufton. It's an interesting mix of like Hollywood flashy set pieces and quaint British staginess. I mean, I think Hollywood kind of wins out in the end because at the end of the day, Sherlock just wins through brute force. But it's got some cool set pieces in it, and the kind of climactic part. His plan to save the girl at the end, like when she's obviously just about to be sacrificed by these worshippers, his plan involves basically making the entire building collapse around her. And I'm thinking, she's in that building. That is risky. She's just not going to get smashed to death if she's tied up on this like plinth. But yeah, it's very enjoyable. More sober and I don't know, possibly less dated than the slightly irritating Guy Ritchie movies. In a way, I feel like they were kind of their time. But this is quite timeless. I like it.
Is this the one that features the first instance of CGI?
Yes, it does. Well,
where there's like a stained glass person.
I think it was the first example, maybe, of a humanoid character or something. Basically, it's got this pretty amazing sequence where a stained glass window comes alive and turns into a human, and the camera kind of spins around it, and it to show like the full 3D, and it's like quite realistic movement and stuff. Apparently, it was the animators went on to work for Pixar, so that makes sense.
I thought you were going to say, "Oh my god, this film has got this amazing sequence that is like it's completely unreal." Where basically this girl fancies me. I noticed that one of the people in this film, is called Rupert Wax Flatter, which I'm pretty sure is one of your pseudonyms when you check into hotels.
Yes, that was my previous name before I got married.
Well, the thing is, like wax flatter, it's not like they say Smith comes from blacksmith and all that. So like Robert's the son of Robert, like wax flatter. Like
is that one word as well?
Rupert Wax, not even Rupert Wax Flattener. Like that was a job. So I need my candles are too tall. Can someone come round and just stamp on them? Yeah, Rupert Wax Flattener will be on his way. Yeah,
yeah. I need them to be flatter. Not completely flat, just flatter.
And also not crushed. I don't want them crushed. So you need them to be warmed and then flattened. Because he's got a lighter, he's got a bic with him, so he can do that. It won't just be crushed candles.
Some of that very specific occupation.
I might watch this. Actually, this is intriguing.
Yeah, it's very
the magic aspect let it down because that's a little pet peeve with some Sherlock adaptations is when they go into the realms of things that just are physically impossible. I much prefer it when there's like he can deduce a way that it can be done IRL.
There's no magic in it. Such like the hallucination sequence is pure, just like whatever drug they're using. There's no suggestion that there's actual magic involved. So yeah, it's not like cheating the audience, really.
Right.
To all of our younger listeners under 65, IRL is in real life.
Although it does kind of sort of give up on the whole, detective element by the third act. It's just a chase and fight movie by then. But it's got a bit of budget behind it, so it holds up pretty well. And it's, Barry Levinson's solid. Chris Columbus, good writer, so it works.
All right.
I like it.
What was it on?
It was on Prime. It may... There's always a possibility it may not be on Prime anymore, because it could be one of those ones which I watch because it says it's going to leave Prime.
Yes. It's nice that they give you notice.
Yes.
It finally
Lazlo?
nudged me into watching some complete shash that has been on my list forever, if it's going to disappear. Although they sometimes they just come back within a month anyway.
Yeah.
Oh, do they? It's just sort of like a licensing thing, or is it a licensing thing they forget? They're like, oh, actually, we better get that back on there because it's amazing.
Yeah, I don't understand how it works, but there's things that definitely drop off Prime and then just come back again. I feel like maybe they renew it, or they have to put it as a purchase for a certain amount of time, and then it can go back to Prime as part of their agreement or whatever.
I mean, given the size of these inventories they have on their sites, I mean, a lot of this must kind of be automated or something to an extent, right? Because do we renew the license to show Young Sherlock Holmes? Oh, we've had 200 views or something in the last month, so let's not bother. I don't know. But then why do you bring
Bond
it back?
films are constantly dipping on and off.
God, yeah.
And that's clearly a strategy.
Yes.
I don't understand the strategy, but apparently Bond is going to be in the public domain in 2030 or something. So despite them paying whatever it was, $10 billion for the franchise, in only a few years, any old fucker can make a James Bond film. So that's
Which makes their slovenliness in actually producing something even more baffling, because it's you haven't actually got that long. You've got one more probably got one more Bond, really. One more Bond actor, really, to go through.
If I may, every single film I've seen, usually shitty low-budget horror films like Winnie the Pooh and Mickey Mouse, have been absolutely dire and have absolutely no human value. So I don't think it makes a difference. I think that it goes into the public domain and a little student bollocks gets made. They don't get hit by licensing issues, and then actual proper films still get made, or TV shows. That's my experience of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Hopefully it doesn't get horribly, horribly diluted with TV shows and all sorts of things. Anyway, I'm going to talk about an all-time classic film that I watched called The Rage. This is from 1997 by Sidney J. Furie. This film is almost like an undiscovered, or I guess a little seen action gem.
You're still on a Roy Scheider kick, aren't you?
Yeah.
Good.
I've got a whole bunch of Roy Scheider things on my list still to go. Although one of them did drop off Prime just this week, which is sad. But anyway, this is still on. And I urge you both to have a look at this. Although I was tempted to suggest we save this for our weekend getaway. Anyway, this stars Lorenzo Lamas. Never heard of him. And he's not a good actor.
Oh, I have. He's someone who he's apparently a really good kicker in terms of martial arts, and he always replaces the lead in sequels to action films.
This is making sense, because he does do some good spin kicks in this, even though his character has no reason to be good at martial arts. He's just like an FBI agent called the Mind Hunter, because he knows how to get into killers' minds. And he likes to work alone, of course. But now he's been partnered up with a rookie called Kelly, played by Kristen Cloak, who is pretty, but I've not seen her in anything else, to investigate a series of grisly murders that are happening somewhere mountainous in the US. And she's also got a brilliant mind, but the problem is that she's smoking hot and a massive deeply unprofessional flirt, which makes things even more complicated between them, because he's trying to pretend that he doesn't want to bone her, even though who wouldn't? It's also got Roy Scheider in it as an FBI superior who has a grudge with Nick. And Gary Busey plays the serial killer that they're looking for. And this is possibly the most unhinged Gary Busey I've ever seen.
That's saying something.
That is saying something. And so there's a lot of action in this, which was very pleasing to me. There's some really ridiculously over-the-top car chases. There's one at the start where they veer off the road onto a horse dressage course kind of thing, and then the cars end up like jumping over each of the individual horse jumps for no reason at all, while smashing them down and then smashing through the stands, and then there's like a car chase later on where there's a lorry full of logs and their car is like getting wedged under it as it's trying to push them off a cliff, and it goes on and on and on. Brilliant. There's another one which is really, really shoddy where they're sticking out the sunroof and shooting at this car that's driving straight towards them, and then it suddenly cuts and the car is just stationary and then it explodes. I don't know what happened there. But anyway, on the whole, the action is excellent. And it's unintentionally hilarious often with these just ludicrous cop cliches that they churn out. Like he's got this, he's the quintessential cop who's got like a troubled past and a secret that he can't let go of, and she's sort of trying to get it out of him throughout the thing, and he slowly sort of comes around to making peace with it and dealing with his own trauma, which is very fun. Then the thing that lets it down though, and there's some hilariously bad the way it's been shot is just shoddy at times. There's a bit like where Roy Scheider walks into Kelly's office and he stares at the walls at all the pictures she's got there, and then he turns and the camera tilts down and she's sat like right in front of him at the desk, but hasn't noticed that he's just stood about like 30 centimeters in front of her face, and she goes, "Oh, hello," and you're like anyway, it's just weird amateurish stuff that goes on that I was just laughing and laughing. There's a bit where David Carradine turns up for a quick cameo and then he gets shot by somebody screaming past in a golf cart, but in a little narrow corridor in a hospital. And it's just why he's in a golf cart in a hospital in a narrow corridor and why he chose that to try and assassinate someone and get away with it. Anyway, it's just hilariously stupid. What lets it down is the tonal missteps. So this came out a couple of years after Seven, and I have to assume that the studio mandated that this otherwise really fun action film have some grisly serial killer aspects to it. So Gary Busey's he's like, what is he? He's meant to be an ex-Vietnam. He's a CIA operative in Vietnam. And then there's some bit where they explain his backstory that he had sex with a prostitute who then cut up his penis. So it's broken his mind. And now he just needs to rape and kill women. But for some reason, his whole platoon of guys also do the same as him and follow him like a cult leader. You think, well, they didn't get their dicks cut up by razor blades, so I'm not sure. And he's even got a girlfriend.
So it wasn't cut off then?
No, they just said cut up. But then, so when he kills people, he's like, there's a bit where you see these two women and he's cut their hands off, and you're just like, why? And then there's an autopsy, and they talk about how they found razor blades in their vaginas, and you're just like,
Jesus.
It's just a bit nasty, and it feels tacked on.
What was that movie we watched on one of our weekends away where it just had loads of unnecessary Bible quoting and stuff in it?
Oh, yeah.
That was Mario Van Peebles, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. And it was just really incongruous, but it was so obviously trying to
Blowback,
be another Seven.
Yes, Blowback. Oh, God.
Blowback, yeah.
Yeah. Wow. But what's annoying is that these bits are only really at the start, and they're just referenced and talked about, and you just see the odd bit, and you're like, I don't need that. This film is totally like enjoyable without that shit. And it has nothing to do with his actual plan, where he's planning to blow up a conference where Vietnamese veterans are meeting American veterans and making peace, and he wants to just blow them up to make a point. And you're okay, well, that's the plot. Why he's raping loads of women on the way and risking getting captured at every turn doesn't make any sense. But hey, Gary Busey is full on unhinged in this. There's like a scene where he's just got lipstick on, smeared all over his face for no reason. It's never explained. And there's a bit where he's on fire and he's just like shouting out, "Woohoo! Yeah, I'm on fire! I love it!" And you're like, okay. So there were lots of bits that made me laugh. But yes, it's let down by that sort of 10% of nasty that feels shoehorned in.
That does seem disappointing.
I want to watch this now.
Yeah. It's on Prime, so you've got nothing to lose. It's short and snappy, and it's got a lot of fun stuff in it. Just go and look at your phone or whatever during the slightly nasty moments.
Can I talk about American Gothic from 1988?
Yeah,
Sure.
From Amazon Prime. This is an interesting film. It stars Rod Steiger, which is a name I recognise, but I have no basis for. Does it ring a bell with anyone? Rod Steiger?
Seen The Heat of the Night?
yeah.
That guy?
No idea. But
I think he's in that.
he and Michael J. Pollard, who obviously was in Tango and Cash, so that's fine. I know where he is. This is a film where it's a load of teenagers, people in their mid to late 40s, get into a seaplane in Seattle, and as they're flying around, they crash on this sort of island. And they crash somewhere in the Puget Sound, and then they wander off and find this old... I thought it was like an Amish couple, but then this old farmhouse for these two people who were... It's the famous picture, isn't it? The American Gothic, the man and the woman holding, the pitchfork on in a wheat field, and they go in there, and they seem to be weird, and they get introduced to their kids who are like people in their 50s. I look at you, Michael J. Pollard, and things get weirder from there. And it's basically just like an 80s thriller, but it was a blend of like unpleasant, and the characters were just dickheads. So they land in this. Let me just go through this in sort of more forensic detail. This group of people land on this island, and they say, "Oh, we're not gonna survive here. We need to find somewhere." And they just up and leave and wander blindly through the woods until they come across this house. There's no backpacks, no supplies, no like, we'll take our tents with us. They just wander into this house, and they open the door to this house, and it's really old fashioned. There's like a gramophone in there, and there's no TV or anything. And they instantly, even though it's not like it's abandoned and dusty, it's just a perfectly serviceable house. They just start pissing around and trying on clothes and messing about. So when the elderly couple come home, they just look like cunts basically, and then the mother's like trying to placate them, like, "Oh, no, they're just kids messing around." The dad's like, "No, like, fuck off." And I thought, I'm with him really, because it's not like they said, "Well, let's wait here for the owners to come back, and then we'll like." And for the first like quarter of the film, the kids are like, I say kids, they're in their 20s. They're openly like mocking this family, and obviously it's a horror film, so something's going to kill off. But all they've done up to that point is welcome them to their home, forgive them for like ruining a lot of their stuff, and like fed them, clothed them, and said, "Oh, you can stay here for as long as you need." And they're just mocking them and joking and saying things and like lighting up bags and drinking there, things this family are clearly not going to appreciate. And I thought, I cannot wait for you all to be killed. I cannot wait for you to be strangled to death as he stares into your eyes. and it kind of colours the whole film. And from then on, it's just like a barrage of stupidity. Like there's a bit where one of the guys goes outside and he sees one of the daughters. This couple are in their 60s, 70s, and all the kids are in their 50s. And you think they're kind of, there's like a mental issue going on, basically. There's no other reason why you would think otherwise. And there's a girl in like a gingham dress in her 50s, like pushing Michael J. Pollard, who looks like a corpse. He's like got his hands in his pockets and he's slumped, over a swing, over a cliff, over rocks and like rushing water, like in Guest House Paradiso. And one of the guys who crash lands on the plane walks past and he says, "Oh, can I go on the swing?" And I thought, you wouldn't have said that, because that's really dangerous. And then he gets killed, and people get killed and go missing, and no one seems to like. Oh, where's Jeff? Oh, I haven't seen him since yesterday. I thought, well, you're on this tiny island. You could have a wander, couldn't you? You maybe think something is happening that is slightly untoward. And the film is ridiculous anyway in the plot and the way it unfolds. But everyone acts so ridiculously in it that you just think, well, you kind of deserve to die because you're just thick. Like there's no. And it goes on, and it's a typical 80s slasher. Also, the Cynthia, the main girl in it, is traumatized because her baby drowned. But it's her fault, isn't it? And people spend the whole film saying it's not your fault. And I spent the whole film saying it is your fault because she was giving it a bath, and then a phone rang, so she went on the phone. And as she was on the phone, she realized like a soup was bubbling over, so she sorted that out instead of checking if her baby hadn't slipped and drowned. And I thought, yes, this is giving me Pierce Brosnan in Live Wire vibes, where his daughter drowned because he was smoking a fag, wasn't it? In his like not looking after his child. So like, whose fault is this really? So you got no sympathy for anyone.
His wife left him because he batters her around and shouts at her.
Yeah, and then when she says, "Well, actually, maybe we can work this out," even though you basically killed our daughter and beat me up, he gets drunk and starts trying to beat her up again. And you're like, well, is he the hero of this film? So this all problems all throughout this film. One of the most interesting things about it was I was looking at this, and one of the actors in it is called, and I'm going to butcher his name now, I think it's like Stephen Shellen is his name. He plays a character called Paul. And at the start of the film, he's the one that says, I'm going to stay with this plane, see if I can fix it. And the next time you see him, he's just dead. And I thought, I know that name. And if either of you have played Deus Ex Human Revolution, which is one of my favorite video games, he plays David Sarif, who is the guy with a really distinctive Adam voice. He's got this fantastic voice. And it would always be one of my favorite voice actors. And he went bonkers, right? He was in Deus Ex, and he believed that, like, at one point he uploaded a video to YouTube where he had like changed his name, moved to Canada, and was convinced that he had the fruit flies around his bananas were augmented and had cameras in them watching him. He basically went completely like off the what's the term, off the radar? No, off the reservation sort of thing.
Reservation.
And he's in this film with that like, hey guys, and I thought, oh, why did you have to go bonkers? Why couldn't you just? Because they recast him in the sequel, Mankind Divided, which was worse. But yeah, it's like a typical 80s kind of silly slasher, but it's one to watch if you hate people, because you'll just hate everyone in the film. And every step it takes is just, why is this happening? Why are you reacting like that? It's completely unrealistic, and it just removes you don't care who lives or dies because everyone's awful. So, yeah, it's not very good, basically.
That's a pity. Is Rod Steiger good?
He is sort of the patriarch of this family, and he is sort of a puritanical sort of monster. But the film is too bad for him to be good, if that makes sense. Yeah. So it didn't stand out to me. I know the name. I don't even know from when, even now. But like, he's kind of a typical sort of overbearing dad in this weird situation, and Yvonne De Carlo is Ma, who's like sort of quite maternal, but the film is too stupid to get anything in it out of it, really.
It's a balancing act, isn't it? Writing characters that are flawed but engaging, or you root for them but they're not perfect. It's not as straightforward as you think, but then some films that you watch, you think you really made a meal out of this. Like, it's not that hard to make somebody at least redeemable, even if they have flaws. But for some writers, it's beyond them.
Absolutely. There was a scene in this film that stuck with me where one of the girls, who's like the sort of burner of the group, comes out, and she's with Cynthia, who just spends most of the film staring off into the middle distance forlornly. And this woman comes out and just starts smoking and says, "Oh, fucking hell, the daughter, she's 50. What a fucking spazzy fat minger." And she just hurls out these foul words. And the girl is like the other side of the tree. And then when she just throws her fag down and says, "The old fucking die of cancer," and goes back in the house, the other woman, like Cynthia, notices this woman there, and she's like, "Oh, she didn't mean what she said." And I thought, how could she not? Like, there was such a torrent of abuse. How could she not mean what she says? She's just tired. How tired? It was ridiculous.
American Gothic.
Mm.
It's
Isn't
cool.
that a TV series as well, American
I
Gothic?
thought so. Yeah.
Different thing. There's a kid with a ghost sister or something, wasn't it? I can't remember.
Right.
Or was
The
that something
ghost Jeremy Sisto.
Okay. What is it on?
Prime. Offs.
Good. Natch. Okay. Excellent. I watched a film at the cinema. This would be quite a quick one. I watched a film at the cinema called The SpongeBob Movie, The Search for SquarePants. So this is obviously... I have no prior knowledge of SpongeBob SquarePants, the characters, or the world they live in. I understand that it's a Nickelodeon cartoon. It's been running since maybe 99. I think this is the fourth movie, not including spin-offs. I dug a little deeper and I found out that the original SpongeBob movie came out in 2004 and was secretly an adaptation of Homer's Odyssey. And this seems to have a bit of a mythic undertone as well, to be honest. Or overtone, actually. It involves SpongeBob teaming up with a Flying Dutchman, played by Mark Hamill, good, to face the horrors of the underworld and prove his bravery. There isn't really much of a plot as such. It's basically just a series of absurd, often surreal escapades as they face some really weird creatures deep under the sea. It's sort of a series of tests until SpongeBob could finally prove his courage, basically. And I did find it quite funny and amiable. Like, the humour is never mean-spirited, but it's also a little bit exhausting in its irreverence and its just constant barrage of visual jokes, which, harking back to what we talked about earlier, may be more palatable in a kind of short episode format, perhaps. It tends to be the case with a lot of these kids' cartoons blown up to 90 minutes. But I'd have to say my son, who's 5, was absolutely transfixed throughout it, as if in some kind of acid trance. I would say it's B tier for me. B tier children's cinema. It's no Cloudy or Captain Underpants, but I can confirm it's better than Gabby's Dollhouse, the movie. There is that. It's hardly essential cinema viewing, I wouldn't say, but I don't really think that's how parents plan their cinema trips. We tend to look at the available children's movies and choose the least shit-looking one. And this was the one on that day, and it is indeed not shit. But it hasn't quite turned me into a SpongeBob convert, I wouldn't say.
I'm actually more familiar with SpongeBob through Faye than my son, because she's been a fan of it since it came out in the late 90s, early 2000s, and it is one of those things that every time either her or Axel puts it on, I'm like happy to watch it because it's so fast moving. But again, I've never watched a movie of it. I think one of them is like part live action and it's got Keanu Reeves in a boat or something, but the whole thing is so bonkers that unless you watch them, you chain gang them like one after the other. It's always fast moving enough to be amusing, but with visual jokes. But
it seemed amusing more than laugh out loud funny.
But I'm the same as you. I've never ever, as much as I don't mind it being on. I've never sort of seeked it out myself to watch ever, and I never would.
Is it anything to do with the team who did Ren and Stimpy? Because it has a very... I've seen the odd bits of like the cartoon show, not any of the films, but like it has a similar anarchic,
I know what you mean. Yes,
drawing style, and doesn't it have like the same close up sort of weird detail things where it's like they spent a bit of time, like in Ren and Stimpy where he's got earwax, then you'll suddenly get this quite finely painted like rendition of what his earwax looks like, and it's disgusting, but it's quite well done.
It's always like a static image. There is a bit of that. I don't know if it's some of the same animators. I don't know enough about it, to be honest.
But I know what you mean. It's got the similar kind of energy to it. Obviously, I think Ren and Stimpy was edgier, I would say, because it was completely disgusting, some of the things that happened in that show. It was very much of its time in the 90s, I would say, Ren and Stimpy. But this is obviously more child-friendly. It's more absurdist, really. It's just really silly, I'd say. But not... I mean, it's quite watchable for adults. I suppose that's part of the appeal. That adults could kind of get along with it. fact, probably the appeal of most successful kid stuff.
Would it
I
work
start
for a
saying that, and then I
10-year-old?
think of Peppa Pig, and I'm thinking that really isn't bearable. So
I put up with it for 3 years, mate.
yeah, that's a challenge. But like something like Hey Dougie, I could watch that on my own because it's funny enough, probably.
Lazlo,
But I couldn't watch a movie.
it's time for you to take your shoes off and see what someone's put inside them.
I won't talk too long about this one because I'm pretty sure you've covered it before, but I'd never seen it before. Dark Angel, aka I Come in Peace.
Oh, 1990, Dolph Lundgren, classic.
Very good, yes. Dolph is Jack Kane. And Matthias Hughes is an alien who likes injecting people with heroin only to then suck it immediately out of their brains. I don't think I fully understood what was going on with that.
You're not a scientist like myself, Lazlo, but carry on.
And then another alien turns up who tries to kill the first alien, and ends up kind of passing on the duties to Dolph Lundgren to sort out.
Before we carry on, the second alien, can you describe his hairline? Is it further forward than Matthias Hues's, or is it further back? Tell me about it.
It's at least at the midpoint of his head at the top, where his hair begins.
It's somewhere between Clint Howard and Art Garfunkel, isn't it? Yeah.
And he can speak for some reason, but Matthias Hughes can't, even though they're the same race from the same planet. Anyway, the music's by Jan Hammer, which was
good,
which was adventurous, and it's quite fun in moments. It's like there's little bits where it sort of sets itself up as a generic cop thriller, and then it subverts little bits. Like there's an FBI rookie guy that he's got to deal with as a new partner on this case, and he invites him back to his flat, and he's been completely sort of alpha male throughout this whole time, and you expect his flat to be kind of like, just a bare apartment with a bed, a mattress on the floor or whatever, but it's really nicely done out, and he offers him a glass of red wine and stuff, and the FBI guy's just like, what the fuck? which is at least flipping something on its head. But as a film on the whole, I didn't really care about anything that was going on in this. It makes no sense at all. There's a bit like, even within its own stupid world, it's just sort of missing stuff. Like at the beginning, these cops steal a load of heroin from a police station lockup, and then they leave a bomb in the police station reception, and it blows up the entire building, presumably killing hundreds of policemen. I don't know, but no one mentions it. Even the cops, like Dolph Lundgren, doesn't go, "Oh shit, the police station got blown up. I've got nowhere to report to for work anymore." It's just never mentioned again.
I seem to remember his whole approach being so sort of laconic as well. You think you just seem to be moving from scene to scene here and talking really slowly and like disinterestedly about everything that's going on.
Yeah. And he's got like an on-off girlfriend who's like an autopsy, but what are they called? Somebody does autopsies. And it's sort of like, it's a wishy-washy thing. Like she sort of broke up with him because, I don't know, he takes the job too seriously or something. But then they just kind of get together again just because now aliens are involved. And it doesn't really have any story or anything. And it's a bit tedious, to be honest. But there was a decent car chase on the streets of LA near the end, which I appreciated just because you don't really see that anymore. And it's got a decent last 20 minutes or so where it just rips the Terminator off and they're just on the run being chased by the alien and then kill him in a factory.
Is it Coroner, the word you were thinking of? There?
Thank you. Yes. Yeah. So that's Dark Angel, I Come in Peace. That's all I have to say about it, really.
That's fair enough, really. I mean, it's one of those films I watched a lot as a kid, and I find it sort of nostalgic now. But yeah, it's neither here nor there, really. And like in Dolph's canon, speaking of cannons, I went to see a mutual friend of mine and Rupert's, Mal, on the weekend. He's a very big film buff. And we were in Wetherspoons having a pint beforehand, and he said, "Oh, for the first film, I chose this because I thought you might like it, because on the spine it's a picture of the man and woman in the film, but on the cover it's a drawing of them because it's from 1986, and they just don't look anything like they look in real life." And I looked at the picture and I said, "That's Richard Norton." And I said, "We have to watch this film first. Unfortunately, whatever happens, we have to watch Equalizer 2000 starring Richard Norton." And it's a Mad Max ripoff, directed by Cirio H. Santiago. No idea. Starring Richard Norton and Corin Wall, and the second screen appearance of one young Robert Patrick, of all people, who actually just shines in this film as like someone who could actually act. It's Mad Max ripoff, basically, where there's these two teams effectively that fight off. It's set in Alaska, but it's clearly just a desert, so it's obviously sort of set in the far future where everything's turned to shit and there's no snow anymore. Everyone is wearing either like military fatigues or leather, but everyone's got like a perfect bouffant and makeup and like well coiffed beard, and nothing's ever commented on. Where they're constantly, it's insinuated that they like struggle with supplies, but they fire ammunition. They don't care. They don't care about how many bullets they're firing. I don't think I've seen a film that has so much gunfire in it with so few people at risk from being shot. They are firing hundreds of rounds. No one is getting hurt. No one's in any danger. This is just bouncing off the dusty earth around them, and no one is getting killed. It's the Equalizer 2000 of the title. Everything's so poorly explained. So he's Captain Slade, Richard Norton, and he is trying to kill someone called like Major Lawton, who is just like lives in a pile of rocks, and then as opposed to the other sort of group that live in another pile of rocks, and there's some native Indians that live near some more rocks. You have no clue what's going on. It's people just driving around and shooting at each other, to the point that it's actually quite laborious. Things also don't make sense. There's a part where they go to this sort of, it looks like an old military barracks, and he goes in there, and there's a woman tied up in the corner with a sort of headscarf on, and she's got a gag in her mouth, and she's panicking, trying to get out. And then a gunfight kicks off. But then the next time we see her, the sort of bad guys go in there, and she's just working behind the counter. And I thought, did you put these scenes in the wrong order? And at some point she was kidnapped and is killed, but we're seeing this first, because that doesn't make any sense. He makes this gun called the Equalizer 2000, which is a machine gun with 6 barrels on it. There's like a sniper rifle at the top, like shotgun in the middle, machine gun at the bottom, and grenade launcher. And everyone is really, really, even though it all loads from one clip, by the way, one magazine, and everyone is afraid of it whenever he pulls it out, and yet he fires and fires and fires, and no one is in any danger. Bullets bounce off rocks, everyone's laughing and dancing, no one's hurt. There's a couple of scenes in this where there's some sped up footage of cars. There's also a scene which isn't sped up, and I actually don't know how they filmed it, right? He's in a car with Corin Wall, who actually doesn't get her boobs out, which is actually quite nice, because I thought she's going to get them out and get raped at some point, isn't she? This is the kind of film it is. It's like a scuzzy Mad Max, but she doesn't. She's driving this Interceptor, and he has got this Equalizer 2000, and he's shooting out the back of it. So there's like a rack he can lean on, and he's shooting at everyone. He's not hitting anyone. Don't worry about that, guys. But then, to get a better shot, he climbs on the bonnet. Right, she's driving over rocky landscape at about 40 miles an hour, and he stands on there, like free-footed, not strapped in front of her, so she has to kind of look around his legs as she's driving. And he's shooting, and I thought, you're further away, and you're shooting over the back of the car now, and you're in her way, and you're not like in a seat, so if she crashes, you're just going to fly off and hit your head in a rock. I genuinely don't know how he kept his footing in that sequence, but it's as fun as it is. It's also incredibly boring, because it's just scene after scene of people saying, "Oh, we need to get a gun. Where's Slade?" Him being monosyllabic, and then people either like walking over rocks and having conversations, or having endless gunfights or like chase sequences that never like go anywhere or never seem to resolve, and it's just this really weirdly cyclical film. So yeah, it's not good, and it's a bit of a flat one, unfortunately, from Richard Norton, who I expect more from.
He's let you down.
Under the gun again.
Yeah,
I love that they named a film after the gun that he makes. At least there's that.
it's
You don't get
I
enough
don't know.
films named after the guns that people have made.
At the start, he sees some sort of double crossing, and he leaves this company because of that. And they're hell bent on tracking him down for no reason. Like they really put a lot of effort into tracking him down, even like you just say, "Well, balls to him, he's gone." And then he builds this gun kind of half off screen. And the moment they see it, they can't. They're like, "We have to get the gun. It's gonna like change the war for us." And I thought, it's just another gun that doesn't hit anyone like all of your guns. It's amazing.
I want that gun. Like, so it's like a shotgun and a sniper rifle and a
It
rocket
sounds like something
launcher
out of
in one.
Borderlands, doesn't it?
It's got everything.
It is, honestly. Except when he fires the gun, I'm not as bored as I was when I played Borderlands 4. Yeah, it's. I am a big Richard Norton fan, but this was a bit of a misfire.
Mhm.
Hey,
That was his international title.
Where
Have
did you
either
watch
of you
this?
watched the Borderlands
Sorry.
film, by the way?
No, I have no intention
I
of doing
don't.
that.
I don't think I need to.
I feel like
Have you?
one of us should.
Oh,
Well, you've just volunteered, haven't you, you silly Billy?
No, I don't want to. It's on Prime. It doesn't even cost money. It's just.
If I don't have to buy it for 25 quid, I'm not going to bother.
Okay, so do quickly go through Inside Out 2, which I watched. It's on Disney Plus. This one, Riley, the girl, she turned 13. She goes to hockey camp with her two best friends. Suddenly, she gets a bunch of new emotions in her brain: anxiety, envy, embarrassment, and most amusingly, ennui. I think that's how you pronounce it. It's like boredom, basically. And Riley tries to appeal to the cool older girls, but then anxiety runs amok and banishes Riley's true self to the back of her mind. So then joy, sadness, anger, fear, and disgust have to go and retrieve her true self before anxiety takes over her mind. So the central conceit is about this sort of core personality that's gone missing. And this is simply a ball of like material that whispers, "I'm a good person." And this bothered me the more than it should do, because it's sort of like this toothless, meaningless self-affirmation and peculiarly American affirmation. And it's like, of all the things to say, like when you're faced with the harsh realities of the world, how useful is it to tell yourself, "I'm a good person"? What does that even mean? Like, is it morally good? Like, it's not saying, "Oh, I'm good enough" or something. It's just, "I'm a good person." I've literally heard people say that on like the Housewives of Beverly Hills. Like, it's like, "Why is she treating me this way? I'm a good person." And it's like, as if that statement of self-perception, if you repeat it enough, will somehow manifest itself as objective fact. But that's like me saying I'm 6 foot and olive skinned with a 12-inch cock on the flop. It's like, just because I say it doesn't make it so. Anyway, so that pissed me off.
It's longer, isn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes, the movie's okay. It's not as good as the original. It kind of lacks the narrative clarity that the first one had. Like, the central conflict in the first one was simple and profound. You had joy, believing that sadness is an anomaly and needs to be banished, before finally coming to the understanding that actually Riley needs to feel sad in order to cope with the world authentically. But then in this one, it's all about anxiety, and it's far more complex emotion, and therefore more complex character. It makes sense that she'd want to banish joy and sadness, but you'd think she'd want to keep like fear and disgust around. You'd probably find them quite useful. There'd be some alignment there, but so it doesn't quite make sense. There's some good like moments in this. I like the bit where there's something called a sarcasm, where literally a chasm just appears when she starts being sarcastic. That's quite amusing. Although I do slightly resent the message that sarcasm is inherently like antithetical to being a good person. Because, you know, whenever I talk to a reform supporter, my sarcasm is off the leash, but I'm pretty sure I'm still a better person, you know? So, yeah, it's, I don't know, like the stakes feel like they've been lowered this time around. Like in the first one, it was quite an genuinely existential crisis and she sort of runs away from home and stuff. This one is more like she's just falling out with her mates and then reconciling with them. And the new characters are fine, but they're a bit forgettable or just irrelevant. Like embarrassment as a character says nothing at all. Envy doesn't seem to serve a role in the story. And partly because it's not really envy that Riley is feeling. It's more like a fear of failure or a fear of acceptance. So it's all a bit confused and not as clear cut as the original.
I was just going to say, I'm looking at this voice cast and it's so dense with these different emotions. Is that hard for a kid to follow?
I think so. But it's visually quite interesting. But yes, I think it's way too advanced, probably for younger kids to really understand. Although it is quite fun trying to explain what envy means and stuff. Like, okay,
son, you know when someone has something and you think they're a cunt, right? That's envy.
Yeah, but there is a problem here, sort of like the Avengers Assemble type problem, where it's like, how do they? They're going to clearly have to. They're going to make a sequel because it's incredibly successful. So it's like, how do you keep adding additional emotions and keeping it fresh and understandable? And even now, it's a bit of a mess. Just like the human mind.
Maybe as she gets older, joy will just die, like it just happens to the rest of us.
She just starts working a really dead-end office job somewhere and just joy just shrivels up.
Just blows her brains out all over envy. I will never want another thing again.
I would say this is a bit of a pointless sequel, basically.
Yeah,
because it's not as good as the original, and it's like, meh.
Also, why add like 4 new emotions? Like it seems like
most of whom don't even have like a function.
The anxiety or whatever, the primary one, and that would be like your problem to deal with in this episode.
Rupert, do you remember? And this is going back nearly 20 years. Do you remember Britt's emotional rhombus or trapezium?
Yes, I even still have a copy of it somewhere.
Where it's like you're happy, you're sad, you're confused, and then maybe there's one other. I don't think they need this many emotions. I'll have to send them Britt's emotional rhombus / trapezium, and they can. Just need the 3, possibly 4, really.
I suppose it's natural that as you add more emotions into the mix, it's gonna lose kind of psychological narrative clarity. I'd say, because it's like, well, that doesn't quite make sense, does it? Whereas if it's just those core emotions, then it's much easier to balance, I guess.
Yeah, I haven't watched this yet, but I don't feel an itching need to.
No,
they better hope it doesn't go like Toy Story, where they got to 5 or 6. I mean, it's going to get crazy. Maybe she'll actually go insane by the last one.
Yeah, they just start having like mental illnesses just floating around the place.
I'd like to see what goes on in her brain room, like when she murders someone. That'd be quite good.
Yeah, is it going to, like, when she gets older, are they going to have like sort of adult emotions, like lust and things like that? It's going to get a bit creepy then.
Or when she murders someone and then guilt says, "Oh, actually, I don't need to deal with this because here's another emotion called whistling nonchalantly." Which is more of an act than an emotion, I'll grant you. Daddy, what's happening? Have you in mind, son?
Inside Out 8, she'll get dementia, and it'll just get really, really dark and depressing.
The emotions sort of flitter away into the darkness of her mind, and until she's left with nonchalant whistling, and it's just her in a room going.
There is quite a nice scene in Inside Out 2 where it's like old lady just wanders out the door in the mind. Old lady just wanders out the door and starts going, "Oh, it used to be so amazing," and it's like and she's like nostalgia basically, and one of the other characters just comes along and just like shuffles her back in and says, "Oh, we're not ready for you yet." That's quite a nice scene.
Yeah, she hasn't bought a Mega Drive yet, so you can get back. You can get back in your room, you old tart. I guess then it's time to move on to the films of the week.
Ooh. Well, I know. I'm going to say The Ballad of Wallace Island for me because it's probably the least known of them. I liked it.
I'm going to say there are other ones I haven't covered. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 I haven't actually covered, but I would say the ones I've seen is easily Screamers, 1985, Peter Weller.
Not Trances with Tim Thompson.
I want to watch Screamers. Okay, I'm excited for that. I'm tempted to say The Rage because I did very much enjoy that, much more than I was expecting. But it's the rapey stuff and the razor blades let it down, so it's going to be Outland for me.
Good.
It's a good mix, that is. Good. The Arkansas for last week was Jared Leto to Madeline Stowe. And I'm not going to lie to you, there were responses that were not dissimilar. So we had two. One, our friend Mal openly said he used Google because he was like, I can't do this. So his was, Jared Leto starred in Suicide Squad with Common. Common starred in Just Right with Queen Latifah. Queen Latifah starred in The House with Rob Lowe. Rob Lowe appeared in Knife Fight with Eric Roberts. And Eric Roberts starred in Southern Comfort with Madeline Stowe. So that's 5-stepper.
Does he realise you meant to go for the fewest number of jumps?
I think he just likes typing messages. Okay. But then everyone. So we got. Before I do this, I'll let you two say what your entries were.
All these people who found like 2-steppers or whatever just found the key to this, and they've all gone the same route. I could only manage 3 off the top of my head. I said Jared Leto is in The Thin Red Line with George Clooney, who's in Ocean's fucking whatever with Brad Pitt, who's in 12 Monkeys with Madeline Stowe.
Nice. Okay, I won't say anything, but what have you got, Lazlo?
I've got the answer that I suspect everyone else has and was just eluding Rupert there.
Before you say it, can I say that this, I don't even know what you've got, but I'm going to say that Jimmy Automatic, Max, Lee Wiles, Dave Chod, and Dr. Congo Fighting all had this.
Yeah. Madeline Stowe films was a struggle, and I was pleased that 12 Monkeys popped into my head eventually. Should I bother saying it? The one that everyone's got?
Absolutely.
Madeline Stowe was in 12 Monkeys with Brad Pitt, who was in Fight Club with Jared Leto.
Shit.
I was hoping that would piss you off when you heard it. It's so close.
I'm so glad I got to ditch. I had like going via Morbius and Michael Keaton and Multiplicity and stuff, so I'm glad I didn't have to use that one in the end.
I was going via Harrison Ford at some point. I don't even know how he relates to either.
You just desperately try to get a firewall when you're like, I'm going to get a firewall and mention Paul Bettany at some point.
What happened to Madeline Stowe? Like, she's a pretty lady, a decent actress.
I think she
was in like
TV.
5 notable films. That's all.
I think she's busy. She's very busy because I keep mixing her up with Mimi Rogers, so I think she's still trying to deal with that.
Yeah.
Okay. Fair enough.
So who's
sure Mimi Rogers has had some Michael Burke.
Live. Done. What is the next Arkansas then?
What's it gonna be?
And why is it Richard Norton? No, I was gonna say Peter Weller.
Yeah.
Peter Weller to Paul Weller. Okay.
Peter Weller to
Gary Busey.
Rupert Wax Flatter.
Okay, but that'd be quite a nice fresh one because they're both from the same era.
Sorry, who?
Yeah, not Wax Splatter or whatever his name was. Surely
not Wax Splatter.
Rupert Wax Splatter. Lazlo said so. Peter Weller to Gary Busey.
Is this probably going to be really easy, isn't it?
I feel like that's. Oh. Why don't we do? Hang on a minute. Why don't we do Peter Weller to Rod Steiger?
Fuck me.
I don't even know any Rod Steiger films.
I know. I've already mentioned In the Heat of the Night, and that should open up something.
One other actor.
We have to
But
mention
the one
another.
other actor in The Heat of the Night can connect to a lot.
Who is
one
that?
lyric.
At least give that. We at least talk about 2 or 3 films to like get people on the go. So
It was a famous. In the Heat of the Night is one of these famous angry films about race in the Deep South, and it starred Sidney Poitier as a black guy in a racist town, and Rod Steiger was a kind of reluctant cop who was kind of racist at the start, but kind of learned to respect him.
you know that people who didn't like him at school called him Sidney Twatier, don't you? You know they did that. Oh my God, they must have. I'm going to end this episode in a slightly different way to usual. I've got a little joke from Maxillarity's Gag Corner, and then I've started. Actually, I'll do Maxillarity's Gag first, and then I'll go on to the sort of outro. So if you'll gather around the campfire, Maxillarity has sent me this message, and he says, Burt Reynolds tried eating human flesh, but it made him ill. Gave him the cannibal runs. And I have been asked, I'll say I love you both, gentlemen, because this is the sort of the last thing now today. But I've been contacted, people who listen to the podcast and said they want to get a line of relaxation tapes. And they just said, this 2-minute section is taken from a 2-hour cassette that's available now in Woolworths. They asked me to just sort of in a relaxing voice, just state the names of defunct British retail stores. And this will be part of a line that goes on, and so if you've got an idea, give it to me and I'll knock one up. So this is a little excerpt from my newest venture. And I just want to say, love you both, and we'll catch you next time here at Kino Kingdom. Close your eyes and relax. Allied Carpets, Dingle's Department Store, Kay's Catalogs, Express Theories, Land of Leather, Focus DIY, Barkers of Kensington, Mac Fisheries, Carthon Warehouse, Raun's Cooperative Society, Reisman's, John Menzies, Dabs.com, Debenhams, Hawkins Bazaar, Civil Service Supply Association, Our Price, Gamley's, Lilly and Skinner, Dixons, Ethel Austin, Floors to Go, Granny Takes a Trip. Pearson's